How's it going, everyone? It's me, Vivi, and we are back to some Jack and Daxter. Yes, I know it got left behind, but we're back. Alright, I hope you enjoy this one. So, this time, let's talk about the Dark Makers, or the Dark Ones, same meaning, whichever one you prefer. It doesn't matter, same thing. According to the Odd Cell leader, which we discovered at the end of Jak 3, while looking through the Astral Viewer at the Southern Haven Forest, which is an ancient precursor telescope, the leader explained that the Dark Ones were once precursors, but fully corrupted by Dark Eco. Now, the precursors and the Dark Makers have been enemies since, and this was eons ago according to Count Vigor, and as long as time turned according to Onin. Dark Eco has a funny way of acting on people. It either transforms you into an Odd Cell, gives you strength, powers, or can actually kill you. Let's give an example for each. Transform, we got Daxter. He transformed into an Odd Cell, and there is precursor DNA in Dark Eco, well, all Eco actually. Now sure, Daxter turned into an Odd Cell, but that doesn't mean whoever jumps in a pool of Dark Eco will turn into an Odd Cell. They might transform into a mutant beast, which actually happened to Daxter after he yet again fell in Dark Eco, and I'm gonna bring it up, The Lost Frontier. As for the strength part, the primary example is Jak, the Dark Warrior program. Now Jak was a special case according to Onin. He was able to control it. Well, to be honest, he was able to control it thanks to the Oracle we met in Jak 2 at the Water Slums and Jak 3, Light Eco to further balance it. Although Jak didn't die when being injected with Dark Eco, the others who were part of the experiment died, and this was mentioned in Daxter if you've played that game. Also, it depends on the quantity of Dark Eco injected into a person. If you give him a little, it might transform them. If you give him too much, it might kill them, but like I said, Dark Eco acts differently. Daxter fell in a pool. That was a lot of Dark Eco, but he didn't remain in the pool for a long time. So I'm thinking it really depends on the time of exposure. As for Errol, when he crashed into a pile of Dark Eco, people thought he was dead, but he came back as a cybernetic. Dark Eco pretty much got rid of his organic parts. Errol, I'm not going to talk too much about him in this video, but he was the former commander of Crimson Guard. And then once he turned into a cyborg, he became the leader of the Crimson Guard Deathbots. Now, I don't know if you guys ever paid close attention to this part in Jak 3, but when Jak meets the precursors the first time, not the actual Odd Cells, but just the first time, the Odd Cell leader explains that Jak's world was found again by the Dark Makers, meaning they've been here before.
Hey, it's one of those goober-eyed precursor thingies.
Greetings, great warrior. Your return brings us great hope. This planet's future is at a critical juncture. The Dark Ones have found your world again, and fate hangs in the balance where the past and the future collide.
It's as if they were banished but found their way here again. And this is not the only planet they've attacked. They've been enemies for eons, right? So it makes sense that they've attacked other planets as well in the past. Cybele Errol believed that the Dark Makers were the most powerful beings to ever exist, and it seems like they are. The ancient precursors came into contact with so much Dark Eco that the precursors feared them, as in they believe that the precursors themselves are not the strongest beings to exist, which Vigor believed. We had this scene with the Odd Cell dummy, like, really? Are we really the strongest beings in the world? The leader and the surfer Odd Cell was like, be quiet, pretty much telling us that no, it's not true. We're not all that mighty and powerful.
Do not let our size fool you. We are the most powerful beings in the universe.
We are?
But this scene right here tells me that the fact that the Dark Makers came back means that they're having trouble defeating them. The Dark Makers could be more powerful than these guys, since you know they've been in contact with Dark Eco. It does give you strength, if not kill you, right? If they were able to kill the Dark Makers, then how did they come back time and time again? How huge of a colony of corrupted precursors are we talking about? Unless it has to do with immortality, which I'm not going to dive into in this video, what could it be? As for their tech, it was close to the ones of the precursors. They were presumed more dangerous due to, of course, the Dark Eco. Their tech consisted of turrets, which one was seen in Jak 3, which Jak could use. Their vehicles utilized Dark Eco bombs. They had the Dark Maker bot, which wasn't really used in Jak 3, but Jak did use it during one of the missions, which wasn't really a suit, it was more like remote controlled. They had the Mine Spiders, which would detonate. They had the Hornets, which were aerial enemies, the Walkers, which looked like vehicles, and the Troopers mainly. There was also this device called the Dark Idol. It used to feed one with Dark Eco. Now, one of the monks came into contact with it and died. Jak touched it, but due to his Dark Eco from the past, he was able to live. He gained the power of invisibility. Other things, they have terraformers. One was used by Errol at the end of the game when you face him. It's like this huge looking structure kind of machine. A bunch of them were inside one of the Dark Makers' ship. Errol believed by destroying the planet, he'd be granted powers of the Dark Makers. He was most likely used as a puppet. And how did he turn into a cyborg? Another video. Now, as for these Dark Makers, we know they were corrupted precursors, right? These Dark Makers we saw in Jak 3, are they really the precursors from like a long time ago? They look like cyborgs, half mechanical, half organic. Well, to me it looks that way. I don't know about you guys. So wait, if the precursors, who we believe were odd cells as well, the ancient ones, what did they turn into exactly? They have their own military, right? That we know. Is that them? At least for the troopers. It's completely unclear if these guys are being controlled or are actual robots, beings, cybernetics. Actually, taking a closer look at the troopers, they look like precursor robots, at least for the eyes. Before I dive into this deeper, let me just get one thing out of the way. The satellites, they have these things called Dark Eco Stones, and these were used to power up precursor tech. Keyword precursor, according to Seam. Dark Eco was created by the precursors, while Eco was created by them. They did have a pool of Dark Eco in the first game. If they hated it, if it was too dangerous, then for sure they would have tried getting rid of it, right? They could have balanced it out with Light Eco, why not? Gol himself studied Dark Eco. He was the Dark Eco Sage. Dark Eco is a very dangerous substance. Some of you might say, well, Dark Eco was accidentally created. Okay, but how do you explain that large pool of Dark Eco? Plus the fact that Seam referred to the precursors when looking at the Eco Stone. Dark Eco was used to some extent, at least for tech. It is dangerous, but the precursor used it for a specific reason only. Oh, and let's not forget the Dark Splitter, which was both used by the precursors and the Dark Makers. These creatures look like they were made from Dark Eco, so this pretty much confirms that yes, Dark Eco was used by the precursors, despite its dangerous nature. Back to the way the Dark Makers look. If the precursors wore armor, let's say, I mean precursor armor does exist, then could this explain the look of the troopers? As in precursors wearing their armor and then coming into contact with Dark Eco? Well, it seems like the precursors, if that were the case, they were into contact with Dark Eco long enough to turn into this, in their armor. Or there's also the possibility that these troopers were robots being controlled by precursors, meaning the precursors were actually inside them. But that one I'm not too meh. Just looking at the way the troopers look, this to me looks like they were either being controlled from somewhere or were robots, cyborgs of their own. So if this is true, then we haven't really seen the real Dark Makers, the ones who were hiding in those big ships. And wait a minute, wasn't Errol able to communicate with the Dark Makers, aka their ship? To me it sounds like they've always been hiding in that ship, but sending a bunch of enemies to planets. The planetary defense system did destroy one of their ships. I believe there's more Dark Makers out there, hiding somewhere. Thus explains the Oddcell leader telling Jak that there's more adventures in the future.
Jak, you are the greatest of heroes. You have turned the tide against the Dark Makers, and together we will win this war.
But dude, there are like way more challenges in the future.
Ha! Or was it the past?
Yes, I was getting to that.
So yep, with that being said guys, this is it for the video, so in the comment section below, tell me, do you believe the enemies we saw in Jak 3, do you think those were the actual corrupted precursors? Mainly the troopers I'm talking about. If not the case, then do you think that these enemies were being controlled from a computer, let's say, or do you believe that they're robots, cyborgs of their own? Leave everything in the comment section below, and as always, I've been VTNVIVI, and thank you so much for watching.